The volume V of a pyramid, like the one shown at left, is equal to 1/3 of the area of the base times the height of the pyramid. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that information, we're going to translate that into a formula in part A. So we're going to write a formula for the volume of a pyramid like the one shown, and then we're going to put in some information into that formula and see if we can make some meaning out of that. So let's see what we've got here. So the volume V, they've told us the variables that we're going to be using, so let's kind of mark those up. So the volume V of a pyramid like the one shown at left is equal to. So I know when I see words like that, is equal to, I'm going to use an equal sign for that. Now I see this word 1/3. Well, 1/3, I see that in words, but I know that mathematically I can write that as 1/3. Now, this is a word we have to be a little careful of here. 1/3 of. Whenever we see that we have a fraction of a value, and this would also be true if I had a percent of a value, that word of is always going to mean multiply. So it's going to be 1/3 of the area of the base times, here's another multiply word, times the height of the pyramid. So by just reading this sentence very slowly and carefully and making some notes to myself as I go along, we can basically figure out what our formula is going to be. Here we were talking about the volume V. Here we were talking about the area A. Here we were talking about the height, which we're calling H. Here's all of my pieces. So notice my formula is basically just spelled right out there for me. If I just write down all those parts that are in red, I'm going to have V equal to 1/3 times A times H. And there's my formula. Now, we don't necessarily need to put these multiplication dots in there. We could also just use juxtaposition, just put all of those right next to each other. 1/3 A H. So either one of those would be an appropriate way to write that formula out. So again, there's no magic to it. We just have to read carefully. Be sure you really kick in your reading skills before you try to start throwing some math at something. Now we're being asked to use the formula. So let's do that. So what have they told us? We're going to find the height. So I'm going to mark that. Find the height. And remember, the height was given using the variable h. So we'll put the h there, of a pyramid with a volume of 120 cubic inches. So they're telling us that the volume is going to equal 120 cubic inches. So V is going to be 120. And a base with an area of 25 square inches. So area is going to be, A is going to be 25. So let's go ahead and put all of these values into that formula and find the value for h, because we don't know what h is. They're telling us to find it. So I'll say that's a little question mark for us here. So our formula that we were using was V equals 1/3 AH. Let's put in the values that we were given. So we'll put in our values of 120 for the V. And then we'll keep copying down the pieces of information that we have here. Equals 1/3. And then we're saying A, do we know what A is? Yeah, they told us that A was 25. And I should probably write that in green because that was information that was given to us. There's my 25. And H, we didn't know what H was. That's what we're trying to find. So we'll go ahead and put that H in here. So now here's the equation that we need to solve for H. And since we have this fraction in here, I'm going to recommend that we get rid of that fraction first thing. We're going to multiply both sides of this equation by 3 to help us deal with that fraction, to get that fraction out of there. So we're going to multiply the left side and the right side each by 3. So on the left side, when we multiply 120 times 3, that's going to give us 360. On the right side, when we multiply, notice that the 3 and the 1/3 are going to cancel with each other. Now, because this is all multiplication over here, there's no distribution to be done. If these were being added, we would distribute, but because it's all multiplying, we're just saying, well, let's just regroup. Let's put the 3 and the 1/3 together. They're going to cancel out and just become 1, and that's just going to leave us with 25h on the right side of our equation. And now we can go ahead and just divide both sides by 25. So we're going to divide here by 25 and divide on the other side by 25 as well. And here the 25s are going to cancel out. And on the left side, when we divide, we're going to see that we end up with 14.4 for my value for h. And so remember what we were looking for. We were looking for the height of the pyramid. So we want to be sure that we answer the question that was being asked. I'm just going to type that in here over here on the side. So the height of the pyramid would be 14.4. And remember, all of our measurements were given in inches. So the height of the pyramid would be 14.4 inches. And that would be how we would write our final answer for that.